First contact. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Lunar Station Alpha, her eyes fixed on the holographic display, showing an unusual energy signature at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. After 30 years of watching the stars, humanity's greatest fear, or perhaps its greatest hope, had finally materialized. "Admiral, the object is maintaining its course," Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez reported, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. "It's using some form of propulsion we've never seen before." The object in question wasn't particularly large, about the size of a small cruise ship, but its very presence had triggered every classified defense protocol humanity had developed since the Roswell incident of 1947. Unlike that crash, which had given humanity its first glimpse of advanced technology, this visitor was very much operational. "What's its projected trajectory?" Chen asked, though she already knew the answer. The visitor was heading straight for Earth, making no attempt to hide its approach. "It'll reach lunar orbit in approximately 72 hours, Admiral." The interesting part is, Rodriguez paused, double-checking his readings. "It's broadcasting." Chen raised an eyebrow. "Broadcasting what?" "A message, on all frequencies. It's in multiple languages, including perfect English." Rodriguez pulled up the transmission on the main screen. "They're calling themselves the Collective." The message was elegant in its simplicity. "Greetings, Earth. We come as friends. Prepare for contact." Chen couldn't help but smile at the irony. For over 2 centuries, humanity had prepared for this moment, not with fear or passive acceptance, but with determination and ingenuity. While the world's governments publicly squabbled over petty differences and staged minor space achievements, underground facilities across the globe had been developing technologies that would make even advanced civilizations pause. "Send word to Unity Command," Chen ordered, referring to the secret global defense organization that had operated in the shadows since the late 20th century. "Tell them First Contact Protocol is now active. And get me Director Hassan." Minutes later, the holographic form of Director Emir Hassan materialized in the command center. His dark eyes carried the weight of responsibility that came with being humanity's chief defender. "So they've finally come," Hassan said, his hologram flickering slightly. "What's your assessment, Stara?" Chen gestured to the data streams flowing across the screens. "They're making no attempt to hide their capabilities, but they're not showing everything either. The ship's energy signature suggests significant power, but they're deliberately running at minimal output." "A show of peaceful intentions," Hassan mused. "Or they don't consider us worth the effort of hiding from," Chen countered. "Either way, they're in for a surprise if they're hostile." Hassan nodded slowly. "Activate the Chimera Protocol. Let them see exactly what we want them to see. As far as the Collective is concerned, Earth should appear as a promising but relatively primitive civilization, just beginning to reach for the stars." Over the next 3 days, humanity orchestrated the greatest deception in its history. Military satellites were disguised as primitive communication devices. Quantum defense platforms disappeared behind sophisticated cloaking fields. The world's leaders were briefed and ready to play their parts as representatives of a divided, struggling species. When the collected ship finally entered lunar orbit, it was greeted by a carefully crafted image of Earth, one that hid the true extent of human advancement behind a veneer of early space-age technology. The ship itself was beautiful, a sleek vessel that seemed to bend light around its crystalline hull. It deployed smaller craft that entered Earth's atmosphere, heading for the United Nations headquarters in New York, where the world's leaders had gathered. The landing was broadcast globally. The ships touched down with perfect precision on the UN Plaza, and from them emerged beings that looked almost, but not quite, human. They stood taller than average humans, with silvery skin and eyes that seemed to hold galaxies within them. Their leader, who introduced himself as High Ambassador Velen, spoke with a voice that somehow managed to be both commanding and gentle. "People of Earth, we come from the Collective, a union of over 10,000 civilizations across the galaxy. We have watched your progress with great interest, and now we believe you are ready to join us. In the Lunar Command Center, Chen watched the broadcast with narrow eyes. "They're good," she remarked to Rodriguez. "Very good. Notice how they're playing to human pride while subtly establishing their superiority." Rodriguez nodded. "The question is, what do they really want?" "That's what we're going to find out," Chen replied, turning to a secure terminal. "But first, let's see how they react to a little test." She sent a coded command to one of Earth's hidden facilities. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, a quantum scanner activated, probing the collective ships with technology that shouldn't have existed on Earth for at least another century. The scan lasted less than a second, too brief for the visitors to detect, but long enough to reveal something interesting. Beneath the beautiful exterior of their ships lay weapons, lots of them. Well, Chen murmured, studying the scan results. "It seems our friends aren't being entirely honest about their peaceful intentions. Should we inform Director Hassan?" Rodriguez asked. Chen shook her head. "Not yet. Let's see how this plays out. But activate Protocol Omega-7. If our visitors try anything, I want them to learn exactly why humanity has survived everything the universe has thrown at us." As the world watched the collective's representatives make their grand speeches about friendship and advancement, humanity's hidden defenses silently came online. The game had begun, and Earth's players were ready. The question wasn't whether the collective would reveal their true intentions. It was whether they would realize their mistake before it was too late. After all, humanity hadn't just been reaching for the stars all these years. They had been preparing to claim them. Hidden strength. The collective's delegation spent 3 days meeting with Earth's leaders, discussing terms of partnership that sounded increasingly like subtle demands. Admiral Chen watched each session from her lunar command post, noting how the aliens' mask of benevolence occasionally slipped. "Look at that," she said to Rodriguez, replaying a moment when High Ambassador Velen had shown a flash of irritation at China's request for time to consider their offer. "They're not used to being questioned." The lieutenant nodded, but his attention was focused on a different display. "Admiral, we're detecting unusual activity around their main ship. They're running deep scans of our solar system." Chen smiled. "Right on schedule. Let's show them what we want them to see." Throughout the solar system, carefully placed decoys activated. The collective's scans would find exactly what Earth wanted them to find: a handful of primitive Mars colonies, some basic asteroid mining operations, and a modest lunar base, all carefully crafted to hide the true extent of human advancement. But the collective wasn't entirely fooled. During the 4th day of negotiations, Velen made his first mistake. "Surely," he said, addressing the UN Security Council, "you don't expect us to believe that a species capable of detecting quantum variances in spacetime would be satisfied with chemical rockets." The room fell silent. The quantum scan Chen had ordered hadn't been as undetectable as they'd thought. Director Hassan, present for this session, merely smiled. "I'm afraid I don't understand, Ambassador. Quantum variances." Velen's galaxy-filled eyes narrowed. 3 days ago, someone scanned our ships using technology that shouldn't exist on Earth for at least 2 centuries, by our estimations. Would you care to explain that? "Perhaps," Hassan replied calmly. "Your sensors were malfunctioning. We would be very interested in learning about this technology you describe." The game of pretense was beginning to crack. In her command center, Chen received an urgent alert. The collected ship was powering up weapon systems. "They're done playing nice," Rodriguez reported. "Multiple energy signatures consistent with weapon charging. Their smaller ships are taking up tactical positions around Earth." Chen opened a secure channel to Hassan. "Director recommends shifting to Phase 2. They're about to show their true colors." In the UN chamber, Hassan gave no indication he'd received the message, but his next words were carefully chosen. "Ambassador Velen, is there something wrong with your ships? We're detecting unusual energy readings." The ambassador's benevolent mask finally fell away. For a primitive species, you are remarkably inconvenient. We had hoped to do this peacefully, but you leave us no choice. The collective requires Earth's resources and strategic position. Your cooperation would have made this easier, but it's not necessary. The chamber erupted in shocked protests and fearful murmurs, exactly the reaction expected from a vulnerable civilization facing its first alien threat. Hassan maintained his calm demeanor. "Are you threatening us, Ambassador?" Velen smiled, but there was nothing friendly about it now. "This is not a threat. It is simply how things will be. The collective has incorporated thousands of worlds into our empire. Some came willingly, others required persuasion. Your world will join us, one way or another." In the Lunar Command Center, Chen received confirmation that all of Earth's hidden defenses were ready. "Should we show them our hand?" Rodriguez asked. "Not yet," Chen replied. "Let's see just how far they'll go. Director Hassan knows what he's doing." Indeed, Hassan was playing his role perfectly. "Please," he said to Velen, "surely we can discuss this reasonably. Earth is willing to negotiate." "The time for negotiation has passed," Velen announced. "You have one planetary rotation to surrender control of your world to the collective. If you refuse," he gestured, and the chamber's screens lit up with images of the collected ships taking up attack positions around Earth. As the UN chamber descended into orchestrated chaos, Hassan sent a coded message to Chen. "Execute Lazarus Protocol." Deep beneath Earth's oceans, in hidden bases across the planet, and in classified facilities throughout the solar system, humanity's real technology began to wake up. But for now, it remained hidden, waiting for the perfect moment. "How should we respond to their ultimatum?" Rodriguez asked. Chen's expression was grim but determined. "We'll give them exactly what they expect: panic, fear, and desperate pleas for more time. But we'll also give them something they don't expect, a glimpse of what they're really dealing with." She entered a series of commands into her console. Throughout the solar system, quantum sensors that had been masked as simple research satellites began actively monitoring every collective ship. Every communication, every energy signature, every movement was recorded and analyzed. "Send this data to Project Prometheus," she ordered. "I want to know every weakness, every vulnerability in their ships. When we strike back, I want them to remember it for generations." The collective had made a critical mistake. They had assumed that humanity's divided appearance reflected reality. They hadn't considered that Earth's apparent weaknesses might be a carefully constructed facade, hiding centuries of unified preparation for this very moment. As the deadline for their ultimatum approached, the collected ships maintained their threatening positions around Earth. They were confident in their superior technology and overwhelming force. After all, how could a primitive species that had barely reached its own moon possibly resist the most powerful civilization in the galaxy? They were about to learn why humanity had survived every challenge it had ever faced, not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through preparation, determination, and the ability to turn apparent weakness into strength. The real question wasn't whether Earth would survive the collective's assault. It was whether the collective would survive Earth's response. The testing ground. As the collective's ultimatum entered its final hours, humanity's carefully orchestrated response began. Cities worldwide initiated emergency protocols, governments called emergency sessions, and military forces were placed on high alert, all exactly as an unprepared civilization would react. Admiral Chen watched the collected ships from her command center, now fully staffed with UNITE's best officers. "Status of Project Prometheus?" she asked. "Complete, Admiral," Rodriguez reported. "We've identified 3 critical vulnerabilities in their shield systems. Their quantum field harmonics are remarkably simple compared to ours. Simple but effective," Chen noted. "Against most civilizations at our supposed level of development, they'd be invincible. Activate the Helios array, but keep it dormant. Let's see what they do first." The Helios array, A network of quantum-linked satellites disguised as defunct space debris could disable every collective ship in Earth orbit with a single synchronized pulse. But revealing such technology too soon would be a mistake. High Ambassador Velen's image appeared on screens worldwide as the deadline approached. People of Earth, your time to choose has almost expired. We see your military preparations. They are pointless. Surrender now, and we will be merciful. Director Hassan, still playing his role in the UN chamber, stood to address the alien leader. Please, we need more time to reach a consensus. Our world has many nations, many voices. Your division is precisely why you need our guidance. Velen interrupted. Allow me to demonstrate why resistance is futile. One of the collective's ships moved into position above the Pacific Ocean. A beam of energy lanced down, vaporizing a small, uninhabited island. The display of power sent the expected waves of panic through the world's population. In her command center, Chen smiled. The collective had just made their first major tactical error. They hit Site Echo, Rodriguez said, checking his readings. Exactly where we wanted them to. The destroyed island had been more than just an uninhabited piece of land. It had housed sensitive quantum sensors that, in their final moments, had gathered crucial data about the collective's weapons technology. Transmit the data to all UNIT facilities, Chen ordered. Begin calculating countermeasures, and send in the drones. Across Earth's oceans, seemingly primitive underwater research drones activated. To the collective sensors, they appeared to be simple oceanographic tools. In reality, each carried advanced quantum scanning technology. Ambassador, Hassan's voice was appropriately shaken but firm. Surely this demonstration was unnecessary. We are willing to discuss terms. The time for discussion is over, Velen declared. Your militaries are mobilizing. Did you think we wouldn't notice? Your primitive weapons cannot harm us, but this defiance must be punished. The collective ships began targeting military bases worldwide, or rather, the bases humanity wanted them to target. Each facility was a carefully constructed decoy, filled with outdated equipment and minimal personnel. Chen opened a secure channel to all UNIT commanders. Execute Operation Mirage. Let them think they're crippling us. Around the world, explosions lit up the sky as the collective's weapons struck their targets. To any observer, it looked like Earth's military capability was being systematically destroyed. In reality, humanity's true defensive capabilities remained untouched, hidden in underground bunkers and orbital platforms that the collective couldn't detect. Sir, Rodriguez called out, they're launching their second wave. Ground forces this time. Small craft began descending through Earth's atmosphere. Troop carriers, according to their energy signatures. The collective was preparing for occupation. Perfect, Chen murmured. They're committing themselves. Signal the Artemis platforms. Throughout Earth's orbit, hidden platforms that had been monitoring the collective ships began transmitting data to UNIT's quantum computers. Every detail of their invasion force was analyzed, every weakness cataloged. Admiral, Rodriguez's voice held a note of concern. They're targeting civilian areas now. Chen's expression hardened. They're trying to force our surrender through fear. Typical Imperial tactics. She opened a channel to Hassan. Director, recommend initiating Phase 3. They've crossed the line. In the UN chamber, Hassan received the message and gave an imperceptible nod. Ambassador Velen, he called out, his voice carrying none of its previous fear or uncertainty. Before you continue this attack, there's something you should know about humanity. Velen's expression was dismissive. Your history is known to us. A species that barely survived its own violent nature, still divided by petty differences. What could we possibly need to know? Hassan smiled, and for the first time, there was steel in his expression. That's exactly what we wanted you to think. At that moment, quantum energy fields suddenly sprang to life around every major city on Earth, easily deflecting the collective's weapons. Their ground forces found their systems mysteriously malfunctioning as they entered Earth's atmosphere. In orbit, hundreds of seemingly defunct satellites simultaneously revealed their true nature, surrounding the collective's ships in a complex web of quantum fields. "What is this?" Velen demanded, his composure finally cracking. "These defenses, they're impossible." "No," Hassan replied calmly, "they're human. And you've just made a terrible mistake." The collective had fallen into humanity's trap, committing their forces to an invasion while completely misunderstanding their opponent's capabilities. Now they would learn why humanity had survived every extinction-level event in its history. The real battle was about to begin. Breaking point. High Ambassador Velen's facade of superiority had completely crumbled. The collected ships hung motionless in Earth's orbit, ensnared in quantum fields they hadn't believed possible from a primitive civilization. "Release our vessels immediately," Velen demanded, but his voice had lost its commanding tone. "The collective will not tolerate this interference." Admiral Chen's voice echoed through the UN chamber, though she remained at her lunar command post. "You're not in a position to make demands, Ambassador. Your ships are disabled, your ground forces are stranded, and your weapons are useless against our defenses. This technology, it's impossible," Velen stammered. "Our scans showed." "Exactly what we wanted them to show," Chen interrupted. "Did you really think humanity would survive this long by being as primitive as we appeared? That we wouldn't prepare for this moment?" In orbit, the collective's mighty warships tried desperately to break free from Earth's quantum containment fields. Their most powerful weapons discharged harmlessly into the void, absorbed by defensive systems centuries ahead of what they believed Earth capable of producing. "Admiral," Rodriguez reported from the Lunar Command Center, "the collective is attempting to send a distress signal to their nearest fleet." Chen nodded. "Let them, in fact, help them, boost their signal with our quantum relays." "Ma'am." Rodriguez looked confused. "The more of them that come, Lieutenant, the more we'll witness what happens when you threaten Earth." In the UN chamber, Hassan stood face to face with Velen. "Your collective isn't the first advanced civilization to discover Earth, Ambassador, but unlike the others, you made the mistake of threatening us openly." "Others?" Velen's galaxy-filled eyes widened. "What others? Why do you think we were so prepared?" Hassan smiled. "Earth has been visited many times throughout our history. Some came in peace and left in peace. Others, well, let's just say we learned from each encounter, improved our technology, prepared our defenses." Chen's voice cut in again. "Collective reinforcements detected at the edge of the solar system. Massive energy signatures. They're bringing their entire regional fleet." "Good," Hassan replied. "Admiral, execute Protocol Thanatos." Throughout the solar system, hidden installations began to power up. Quantum reactors that had laid dormant for decades surged to life. On Earth, in underground facilities beneath every continent, advanced weapon systems prepared to reveal themselves. "This is your final warning," Hassan addressed Velen, and by extension, the approaching collective fleet. "Withdraw your forces, acknowledge Earth's sovereignty, and we can discuss peaceful relations. Continue this aggression, and we will be forced to demonstrate exactly why humanity has survived every threat it has ever faced." The response came not from Velen, but from the commander of the approaching fleet. A new hologram appeared in the chamber, a being similar to Velen but adorned with military regalia. "I am Supreme Commander Xar of the Collective Defense Force," the new arrival announced. "Your deception and resistance have sealed your fate. The full might of the collective will now be unleashed upon your world." Chen's voice was cold. "I was hoping you'd say that. All humanity commands. Execute Omega Protocol." What happened next would be remembered in galactic history for millennia to come. Earth's quantum defense grid, hidden in subspace dimensions the collective hadn't even discovered yet, activated fully for the first time. Every collective ship in the solar system suddenly found their quantum cores encrypted by technology they couldn't comprehend. Their weapons, their engines, even their life support systems now operated only at humanity's discretion. "Impossible," Supreme Commander Carr whispered. "This level of quantum manipulation, you would need to be far more advanced than we appeared." Chen finished for him. "That was the idea, Commander. Humanity learned long ago that appearing weak while being strong is far more effective than the opposite." "But why?" Velen asked. "Why hide your true capabilities?" Hassan's response was measured. "Because, Ambassador, we needed to know how you would treat those you thought weaker than yourselves. You've shown us exactly what the collective truly is, not a union of equals, but an empire of conquest." In orbit, the collective ships hung helpless, their mighty weapons and advanced technology rendered useless by humanity's quantum mastery. Earth's true defensive capabilities were now fully visible, a vast network of satellites, platforms, and installations that had remained hidden for centuries. "Here are our terms," Hassan announced. "The collective will withdraw from Earth's solar system. You will acknowledge our sovereignty and our right to defend ourselves. In return, we will release your ships and crews unharmed." "And if we refuse?" Carr challenged, though his holographic form flickered with what looked like fear. Chen's response was simple. "Then we'll demonstrate why every civilization that has ever threatened Earth has either made peace with us or ceased to exist." The choice before the collective was clear: accept humanity as equals or face the consequences of their aggression. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its hidden technology or advanced weapons. It was the determination, forged through millennia of survival, to defend itself against any threat, no matter how powerful it might appear. New dawn. The silence in the UN chamber stretched for what seemed like eternity. Supreme Commander Carr's hologram flickered as he exchanged glances with Ambassador Velen, both processing the complete reversal of their situation. "Your demands are acceptable," Carr finally said, his military pride clearly wounded. "The collective withdraws its forces and recognizes Earth's sovereignty." Admiral Chen's voice carried a note of satisfaction. "A wise choice, Commander. Lieutenant Rodriguez, begin releasing their ships, one at a time, starting with their medical and civilian vessels." In orbit, the quantum fields surrounding the collective ships began to dissolve selectively. Each released vessel immediately retreated to a safe distance, their crews no doubt struggling to understand how a supposedly primitive world had so thoroughly outmaneuvered them. Director Hassan addressed the assembled UN representatives, many of whom were still playing their roles as shocked leaders learning of humanity's true capabilities. "For centuries, we kept our advancement hidden, united in secret while maintaining a facade of division. That era ends today. Why reveal everything now?" Velen asked, his earlier arrogance replaced by genuine curiosity. "You could have simply demonstrated enough power to deter us." "Because," Chen replied, materializing in the chamber via quantum projection, her form as solid as if she were actually there. "Humanity is ready to take its place in the galaxy. Not as a subject race, not as a conquered world, but as equals." The Admiral walked to the center of the chamber, her quantum projection flawless. "For too long, we've watched civilizations like the collective impose their will on those they deemed inferior. That ends today, at least in this part of space." Hassan nodded. "Earth will become a protector of emerging civilizations in this sector. Any species developing their own path to the stars deserves the chance to do so without interference or coercion." "You would challenge the collective's authority?" Sar demanded, though his tone lacked conviction. "We already have," Chen responded. "Your ships are still within our quantum network. Shall we demonstrate more of our capabilities, or shall we discuss the new reality of our relationship?" The next few hours saw the formation of a new galactic accord. The collective, faced with technology they barely understood, agreed to recognize Earth not just as a sovereign world, but as a full equal in galactic affairs. More importantly, they accepted strict limitations on their expansion policies. In the Lunar Command Center, Rodriguez watched the last collective ship leave Earth's solar system. "Do you think they'll honor the agreement, Admiral?" Chen, her quantum projection having returned to the moon, smiled. They don't have much choice. Our quantum network now extends throughout this entire sector of space. We'll know if they try anything aggressive. And the other nations of Earth? Rodriguez asked. How are they taking the revelation of Unity's existence? Better than you might expect, Hassan answered, stepping out of a quantum portal into the lunar facility. Most world leaders have been part of this conspiracy for generations. Those who weren't, well, they're quickly understanding the benefits of true global cooperation. Chen turned her attention to a galactic display showing hundreds of developing civilizations within Earth's newly declared protection zone. We have a lot of work ahead of us. These worlds deserve the same chance we had, to develop without interference, to choose their own path to the stars. And if the collective or others challenge our protection, Rodriguez asked, then they'll learn what we learned long ago, Hassan replied, that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our determination to stand against anyone who would threaten those under our protection. In the days that followed, Earth began its transformation. The facade of division fell away as humanity revealed its true face to the galaxy. Hidden cities emerged from beneath the oceans, cloaked stations appeared in orbit, and the full extent of human advancement became known to all. But more importantly, humanity emerged not just as a powerful civilization, but as a guardian of others. The quantum network that had protected Earth now extended its shield over dozens of developing worlds, ensuring they would have the same opportunity humanity had seized, the chance to reach the stars on their own terms. In her lunar command center, Admiral Chen received the first diplomatic requests from other galactic civilizations, not just the collective, but independent worlds and alliances who recognized the shift in power that had just occurred. Looks like we'll need to expand our diplomatic course, she remarked to Hassan. Indeed, he agreed. But we should never forget what brought us here, the wisdom to hide our strength until necessary, and the courage to use it not just for ourselves, but for others. As Earth's quantum ships began their first official patrols of protected space, humanity had achieved something remarkable. They had emerged onto the galactic stage not through conquest or submission, but through patience, preparation, and an unwavering commitment to ensuring that no other civilization would face the choice they had forced upon the collective. The age of hiding was over. The age of humanity as guardians had begun.